All right, I want you to take a look at this picture. If I were to say, who are your top 10 GOATs across all sports, who would you name? And the next question would be, why would you name them? How did all of these players become the GOAT, world class, best of the best at their individual sport? And why does it apply to real estate? Well, let's break it down. If you were to look at Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, what do they all have in common? How did they get on this list? And we'll talk about how that relates to real estate and sales here in a minute. But how did they do it? Well, let's take a look at Steph Curry and his approach to becoming literally the greatest shooter God has ever created in the sport of basketball. Every single day he puts up 500 shots, even after all these years he's been in the NBA. That's 3,500 shots per week. That's 168,000 shots per year. That's 2.5 million shots over the course of his career. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time in most of his podcasts that you'll listen to. Let's look at Tom Brady. When Tom Brady obviously came into the league, he wasn't the top prospect for most teams, but it's his relentless work ethic on his craft. That's what elevated him to obviously the GOAT, the greatest to ever play or pick up a football, because he was able to control what he could control, the intangibles. And as he got better and as he put focus on his work ethic and his consistent discipline, his attitude, that elevated him to go get all those rings. Brady emphasizes all the time that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So let's wrap on this. This is like one of my favorite quotes, and then let's jump into today's episode. Michael Jordan often quotes or references that obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Go figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. So how did all these players become the GOAT, the greatest to ever play in their sport? It was their relentless effort and focus on getting better, at perfecting the job and the task at hand. That's how they got there. Now, are realtors any different? Are salespeople any different? No, they're not. And if most of you took the approach that these athletes took to become world class at their sport, you would wipe the floor with 95% of other realtors in your industry, because nobody does this. Most realtors aren't going to get better. That's why they close 3 to 5 deals a year. They have all these holes all over their business. They can't negotiate. They can't communicate their value. They're losing commissions and they're losing deals and they're not consistent. And so they're not doing more than 5 deals a year. That's why 2 years ago, 71% of realtors didn't sell a single home. It's because their skill set didn't evolve. You're always going to get paid in accordance to the value you provide to the marketplace. So if you're not getting paid or you're not doing deals, it's because your value isn't there. Your skill set's not there. And I always say this when I talk to real estate agents and we dive into this topic, but real estate is a skills-based industry. You either have the skills or you don't. In my experience, being in sales for 15 years, training realtors worldwide, there are 5 skills that you need in order to fix the holes in your business, to completely blow up, to scale aggressively. That's why most realtors, when I work with them, they go from 8 deals to then all of a sudden 20, or 20 to 40, or 0 to 57, because they focus on the right 5 skills that, when compounded over time, allow them to get better. If you go look up on Indeed or any type of website, what skills do I need to develop? You'll get this long list of hard skills and soft skills, and it gets overwhelming. But to be honest, if you can just apply the Pareto principle to your growth, focus on the 5 that get you that entire list, the 20% that get you the 80%, then this approach will help you over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, not only get better than everybody, but close more business because your skill set is there. Now, if you want this entire whiteboard, because we're going to break down everything in regards to skill set, go ahead and comment skillset breakdown whiteboard down below in the YouTube episode and shoot me a text or a DM on Instagram. And I'll make sure to get this entire thing out to you so you don't have to scribble and take 1,000 notes. All right, so if you haven't been watching over the past couple weeks, I've been doing a series of YouTube episodes like a classroom here on the whiteboard to help you wherever you're at, whether you just got your license or you've had it for a while and you're stagnant and you want to scale, or you're doing 50 homes and you want to do 80 to 100 homes. Whatever the case may be, the series of episodes we've been doing is to help you get to the position where you can go make $500,000 a year. Now, in order to do that, there's a series of things that you have to do. There's an order of operations. And we started in week 1 with the 7 principles to follow this year: business planning, top producer schedule, how to regulate your emotions, how to go get unlimited leads through outbound and passive prospecting. Last week, we talked about how to build a business that you love, how to delegate, what to put on your calendar, what to take off. And today's episode is obviously now on the skills you need, because you have to have the skills necessary to close. Now, make sure you engage with this YouTube episode. I've got 8 or 9 different free workbooks I'm going to give out. A lot of realtors always comment on these. I always send them out. And last year, there were 219 realtors that sold 2 or more homes literally from the free content. So follow along. This will be a great episode. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more that are coming by the end of the quarter. But these 12 episodes will help you go grow a very explosive and sustainable business. Now, if you haven't followed my stuff for a while, I used to be a religious professor, got into door-to-door sales, was the top 1% worldwide, got into real estate, sold 75 homes my first year from applying what we're going to talk about today. And then now I'm the CEO and founder of Davis Sales Training. I'm coaching realtors all over the world and helping them explode their business. I'm the only real estate coach that has put this many realtors on this stage to get an award from door knocking specifically. And I helped all of them grow their business at an accelerated rate. And a lot of these other realtors went from 0 to 57, part-time, to now top 3 in volume in the entire state of Alabama. Realtors making 100K in 90 days, other realtors that had complete stagnant business, and then all of a sudden it picks back up because of the things that we talk about. So you're going to take a ton of notes. Excited to have you here. Make sure every time you see these bells that those are the keywords that you write down so I get you out the free content. Now, just as a reminder, I have a free call every Tuesday where I take realtors that closed a deal and I train on how to replicate that in the next 72 hours. Completely free. We have over 120 realtors. There are realtors that are getting deals for free, multiple listings, putting them under contract from the things that we train on that Tuesday call. If you want to get on there, comment free worldwide training, DM me on Instagram. And then also after you watch this, if you just want a free consultation so I can help you walk through this, then comment free business consultation and DM me on Instagram. Last year in 2025, I did over 500 of those just to help realtors figure out where their holes were in their business so they could go fix them to scale aggressively. So make sure you comment those. Okay, let's jump into this. So skill set development. If you look at athletes, if you look at the GOATs, the Tom Bradys, the Steph Currys, the Michael Phelps, the Kobe Bryants, how did they get better? And then how do we apply that to real estate? So if you look at athletes, what they're trying to do is they identify the task. What's the task at hand? Obviously, to win as many trophies as possible was the main focus for Kobe Bryant. So he identified the task. Now he looks at, what skills do I need? I need to be able to dribble the ball. I need to shoot the ball, to pass the ball. Like, we're talking very basic skills that he needs to go develop. And there were often multiple occurrences where people would comment on that. They were so surprised that Kobe Bryant was practicing skills that second graders were practicing. And he never forgot that. And that helped him obviously get better than hardly, arguably, anybody to ever do it. The third task is, what are the daily inputs that I need to focus on? The Pareto principle. What are those 20% skills that will get me the 80% that I'm chasing? What are the inputs that, if I just let those compound over time, will allow me to accomplish that task? Real estate is no different. It's literally no different. So realtors, what is the task at hand? Is to do business, to aggressively grow my real estate business in my local market. Okay, so what skills do I need to do that? And then what are the daily tasks, the inputs that if I just compounded that over time, I would develop those skills and do a lot of volume. That's what we're talking about today. So remember, as we break this down, you're going to see these little bells. Make sure you comment those keywords so that I can get you these free workbooks as much as we can. Now, before we jump into the entire approach of what skills to develop, how to just develop them over time, I want to mention these 6 different philosophies of skill set development that you have to like really comprehend and get behind before we jump into everything. The first one is from Darren Hardy. He talks about garbage in, garbage out. You have to be very intentional about what you put into your brain, what skill sets or what information you put in front of you. The radio, the TV, the news, your neighbors, your church, everybody wants to tell you what information needs to be in front of you. And a lot of times, a lot of it's waste. If you watch the news and the drama and the shootings and the world's coming to an end, it's all clickbait. You have to be able to delete all that, get rid of all this blurriness so that you can focus on the things that will actually help you develop the skills to accomplish the task that you want. So in Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, he talks about garbage in, garbage out. You have to be able to get rid of the crap that you're listening to, the radio and the TV shows and the podcasts about the world's coming to an end. You got to get rid of that. Okay, so that's in your control. Skill set development is in your control. It just takes a unique approach, which is what we'll talk about today. Then you've got the University on Wheels. Brian Tracy talks about this in The Psychology of Selling. He mentions that if you were to turn your car into a university on wheels, so make the decision to put podcasts on while you're driving your car, you could literally get the equivalent of a PhD in the industry you're trying to learn, which is obviously real estate or sales. By literally turning your car into a university, in 6 months, you could consume more information than most people do when they're going to get their master's, which is really cool to me because if you compound that over 15 years, like I've done, the amount of information you'll put into your brain is pretty astonishing. The next one is sharpening the saw. Stephen Covey talks about getting better at your craft. You cannot take a dull axe and try to chop down a tree. You're better off sharpening the axe, slowing down, and then going back and cutting down the tree. If you do that, if you work on your skill set, if you sharpen your axe, then you'll do more business because you're getting better. The last 3 are Jesse Itzler's The Rule of 100. If you were to apply what we talked about today for 18 minutes a day, so over the course of 100 hours, so basically a year, at whatever you wanted, sales, leadership, communication, negotiation, whatever it is, you would become better than 95% of your competition because nobody else does this. Nobody else puts on their calendar the skill set development and they let it compound over time. All it takes is 1 year and you'll be better than 95% of realtors or salespeople in your market and industry. Now, the other one comes from the 10,000 hour rule, Malcolm Gladwell. If you guys have read his books, I am a massive fan of everything he's written, but he talks about in order to become world class at anything, it requires 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. And if you can do that, you now have become world class at what you're trying to accomplish. And the last one is obviously Kobe Bryant, which he's famously known for. Did you get better today? Did you get 1% better today? Now, if you can couple these 6 philosophies and put them on the idea of skill set development, then I guarantee you, I promise you that if you just let it compound over time, then you'll absolutely blow up your business and you'll do way more than you thought you could have because you conceptually got behind these philosophies right here. Okay, so let's break this down. So if you think about it, what skills do I need to get better at? Well, let's look at the task at hand as a realtor. Let's look at your schedule. What are the 3 things that need to be on your schedule? And that'll help us understand what skills we need to go acquire. Now, if you haven't got this workbook before, it's a 15-page top producer workbook that breaks down your entire schedule from time blocking, what to put on your schedule, what not to put on your schedule. Comment top producer workbook. Make sure you get this one. This one is really well put together and it's requested a ton. So what 3 things have to go in your calendar so we know what skills to develop? Well, the first thing is your values. You have to live a value-oriented life. There's 5 different types of wealth. Sahil Bloom talks about that in his book. And if you don't take care of the things that matter, then they will disappear over time. So that's got to be the first thing that goes on your calendar. So that'll give us an insight of the type of skills that we need to develop. The second one is growing your business. You have to have on your calendar 4 hours a day of prospecting, going on qualified appointments, following up, getting better, your values, like we had mentioned. You have to scale your business. If you're in sales or real estate, you are an entrepreneur. You are a 1099 independent contractor. You are the CEO of your business. You have to grow your business. So that has to be on your calendar. So if you haven't built your business plan, if you haven't built your schedule or vision board, and you're watching this for the first time, comment 2026 business plan workbook. I've got a 55-page workbook that I put together that I've literally trained all these realtors on that have helped them aggressively scale their business. Make sure you get that so you can go at least do this phase. The third thing that has to go in your business is you have to get rid of distractions and you have to delegate, like we talked about on the previous YouTube episode. You have to be able to go and get rid of the things that you're optimizing that should not be on your schedule, and then put systems into place that allow your business to run smoothly like a well-oiled machine. Now, if you didn't watch the previous episode and you don't have this workbook, just comment business systems workbook. And I've got an entire breakdown that'll help you understand what processes and systems to put into place and what to take out of your business. Also, go watch the previous episode. So here's our task at hand. These are the 3 things that we have to make sure that we get good at. Values, growing your business, and getting rid of things that shouldn't be on there, and making sure our business runs as if it's a Ferrari without the brake on, right? We're running as fast as we can. So now that we understand that, here are the 5 skills that I would go acquire, the Pareto principle that will help you get all the other skills you need, and then I'm going to walk you through how to acquire them. So the 5 skills are going to be time management. So how do you run your business while taking care of your clients, while taking care of your spouse and kids, while taking care of all the other hats that you wear? That's time management. Then emotional regulation. How do you show up every single day with a smile on your face, even when you don't want to? Most realtors right there, that's where they get stuck and they end up leaving the business because they can't control their emotions. The third one is continual education. The idea of getting better, you need to remind yourself of that once a week. People skills, this is a people-based industry. You need to learn how to get trust really fast. You need to learn to smile, look them in the eye, memorize their name. Those types of skills are absolutely non-negotiable, mandatory in this industry. And then sales. This is a sales-based industry. You got to know how to negotiate and present and communicate, and the one-liners and the closes. You've got to understand how that all works. Now, 2 additional skills, if you really want to go fast and you're married and have kids, I've always added parenting and marriage, and then religion as a last subject. So what you'll do here is you'll assign each day a topic. So every Monday, I'm going to learn everything I can on time management. The books I read, the podcasts I listen to, the YouTube channels, the people I follow, everything on Monday has to do with time management. So where am I going to fit that in? Most people are like, I don't have time in the day to get better. Yes, you do. So let's take a look at it. So right here during time management, you have multiple occurrences to get better. So if you look right here, you can role play twice a day. Most realtors are not role playing. And so if you don't do that, you're not going to get better. Then if you look at it, most people don't optimize their time at the gym. If you think about it, if you're at the gym for an hour, put a podcast in for 30 minutes, 2x the speed. Now all of a sudden, I have learned something at an accelerated rate every day as a system that I can automate. And so all of a sudden I get better. Now I'm going to schedule 45 minutes a day right here in the middle of the day. And right there is where I'm going to get better. No matter what, I sit down for 45 minutes. I'm going to watch YouTube, read a book, or move forward. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read, and I'm going to get better. I'm going to sit down on my bed, turn off my phone, and I'm going to read. And as I do that every day, I get better. The last thing that you can plug in there is when you're driving. Think about sales and real estate. How much time do we spend in the car? If you were to take that time and turn it into a university like Will's, like Brian Tracy talks about, then you would get so much better, because an hour a day, 2 hours a day, showing homes, going to meetings, in the car, that time, if you were to put a podcast or a YouTube episode on at 2x the speed, you could literally get a PhD in the subject of time management on Mondays by compounding that over time. And so the podcast, the YouTube episodes, the social media pages, everything you do on that day is designed to target getting better at that skill. So if we look at books, these are the top 4 books that I'd recommend. Buy Back Your Time, The 4-Hour Workweek, Atomic Habits, and Start With Why. What YouTube channels would I go and listen to? Simon Sinek, anything by Dan Martell, and then what podcasts am I going to listen to as well? If you have a list of each subject, then it makes it very simple for you to focus and get better that day from that method. Now, the same thing I'm going to do on Tuesday. So Tuesday's topic is going to be emotional regulation. How do I regulate my emotions? How do I make sure the highs aren't too high and the lows aren't too low? I can kind of stay like a heartbeat in the middle. Well, remember, I've got all these different time slots throughout the day. I'm going to pick the podcasts, YouTube channels, and books and social media pages to help me get better that day. And I'm going to optimize it as much as I can. Because remember, if this one skill right here is preventing me from making $100,000 a month, why would I not go learn that skill? And I guarantee you, from all the stuff I'm doing with real estate agents, this is a big issue right here. And so these are the 4 books I'd recommend: The Inner Game of Tennis, Miracle Morning, Anatomy of Peace. And then this is probably, someone recommended this about a year ago, one of the best books about how to stop overthinking. And when you do that, it releases stress and you don't go through these negative spirals, and you can actually declutter your mind and focus on the present. So what YouTube channels would I listen for that? I go to Mel Robbins, or I go to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and there's a couple others I put on here, but these would be the 2 main ones that I would listen to every Tuesday. Same thing on the podcast. These are the main podcasts that I cycle through. And so I'll go see if they have a guest on or a topic on this subject on Tuesday. And then the same thing with social media. Now I'm going to go to Wednesday, which is continual education. I'm going to remind myself the importance of getting better every day. So I'm going to listen to The Compound Effect. Steph Curry's new book called Shot Ready is incredible on skill set development over time. You have Michael Jordan's book, Michael Phelps's book, and then these are the YouTube channels that I would go listen to and look for guests on the importance of skill set development. You have to always remind yourself of how important it is to get better over time. Then you're going to look at people skills on Thursday. What books am I going to read? I'm going to read How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Speed of Trust, Emotional Intelligence, John C. Maxwell's book, Becoming a Better Person of Influence. And then what YouTube episode or channels am I going to go listen to? I'm going to go listen to Chase Hughes and probably Robert Greene. Those are my 2 favorite on this topic. Same thing with the podcasts. When I'm driving, I'm going to either put a YouTube episode in or a podcast on this subject, and I'm going to let that compound over time. Same thing with sales on Friday. Every Friday, I'm going to make sure that I have 45 minutes on my calendar. I role play twice a day. At the gym, driving, before bed, I'm going to squeeze as much as I can on sales. I just recently had a realtor that lost a $48,000 commission because she never role played, never got better at sales, didn't know how to negotiate or communicate. And so why would you lose that? Why not every Friday take the opportunity to get better at sales? So go read Brian Tracy's book, Psychology of Selling, Sell or Be Sold, Eat What You Kill, Zig Ziglar's Secrets of Closing the Sell, and then what YouTube channels? I'd go watch Grant Cardone's and anything from Brian Tracy. Now, if you're married and have kids, I would add these 2 topics on so you can get better at that too. You need to get better at both of those. Is the Whole Brain Child, No Drama Discipline, The 5 Love Languages, Teaching with Power. I love this book in regards to relationships because Christ was probably the best of the best at this with relationships. And then these are the 2 favorite YouTube episodes I have on this topic. And in regards to religion, because I'm a Christian, a disciple of Christ, I try to get better at this over time. These are the main books I'd read. I'd read the Bible, the Book of Mormon, Other Testament of Christ, Jesus is the Christ. The Chosen has a great book series on having a daily encounter with Christ, the infinite atonement. And then these are the YouTube episodes that I would focus on. Now, remember, if you don't have a book club and you don't know what books to read and you're getting into sales for the first time, comment, let me change this, Book Club 2026, and I'll make sure I get this out to you. I have an entire workbook that'll walk you through the books that we're reading this year. So that way you can add these plus the other ones. Now, one thing I just want to leave with you that's really important as you do this in regards to social media, and that's why I'm talking about it last, is garbage in, garbage out. I would recommend every 30 days, so the first at 9 a.m., whatever day that falls on, go into your social media and you can look at your analytics and the accounts that you don't engage with, that don't bring any value, you can actually unfollow all those. And then the ones that you do want to follow, go turn on all their notifications so that Instagram puts it in front of you. Be deliberate to choose what you see when you open that chat. So if you're going to follow Ed Milet, you're going to follow Chris Williamson, Lewis Howes, Mel Robbins, tell Instagram to put their information in front of you. And that'll make it so much easier as you compound over time. Okay, well, hopefully today's episode was really helpful. Hopefully you got an insight of why the GOATs are the GOATs and how that applies so much to real estate. This is a game of skill set development. You don't need all these skills. Go focus on the 5 skills that will get you those. If you just simply compound it over time, that'll help you prioritize your values, grow your business, and get rid of the distractions and build a business you actually love and enjoy. But you have to get behind these 6 philosophies and compound your skill set over time. All right, next week we'll catch up with you. We've got 4 episodes left. Hopefully this is helpful. Comment for all the keywords and reach out if you do want a free consultation. Thanks for watching.